Mark, one of the key areas of cancer that Immutep is looking to address is head and neck cancer. It has with it its own key characteristics. There's some difficulties for patients. Can you give us some background as to that cancer and how Immutep is looking to address that?
So head and neck cancer is unfortunately a very aggressive cancer type. Globally, you have round about 600,000 cases, and 350,000 cases are eligible for cancer immunotherapy. It is a disease which has typically patients between 40 to 60, 70 years old, predominantly male actually. Alcohol abuse and alcohol consumption as well as smoking plays a big role. There are also virus-induced head and neck cancer, so HPV viruses. And unfortunately, it comes also with a very heavy burden on the patient. So you have partly facial deformation, lip, mouth, throat affected. So it leads often to depression or sometimes actually even suicide. So it's a high unmet medical need in a difficult to treat environment and very obvious. So the patient is often socially exposed. So also quality of life compared to some other cancer type, which are also of course terrible, but it's even worse. We try to address this high unmet medical need where even in first line, so the first time when a patient is eligible to receive chemotherapy or cancer immunotherapy treatment, median overall survival is round about 12 months. So it's about a year. And to extend that time, maybe including complete remission, so complete shrinkage of all lesions, so metastatic disease, you have often, so to get rid of the primary tumor, to get rid of all metastasis, this is something we would like to do with eftilagimod in combination with anti-PD-1, so Keytruda. And this is where we saw results from TACTI-002, including actually 5 complete responses. So 5 times patients with tumor shrinkage of all target lesions, non-target lesions, so obviously great for the patients. And a number of patients in addition to that responding to treatment in a way that they had a so-called partial response, so that also the tumor was shrinking significantly. This is important, and we are now testing it in first-line head and neck cancer, a study called TACTI-003, where we try to make also a different, at an earlier stage of disease. TACTI-002 is addressing so-called second-line head and neck cancer, so the second time the patients get, for instance, chemotherapy or anti-PD-1, so even more aggressive with median overall survival, typically between 6 to 9 months there. So it's a difficult disease and high unmet medical need. So to make a difference there with eftilagimod is very important to us, and we will move forward. We hope to see rapid recruitment of TACTI-003, and then first updates in terms of results and given where we stand, then in second half of next year.
Mark, it's very important work, obviously, that Immutep's doing in addressing these type of cancers. What's the journey towards commercialization for your drugs in this regard?
Commercialization and bringing the potential benefit to patients is of course key. And actually this journey could be shorter than usual. Since April last year, we have so-called fast track designation in the United States by the FDA. This allows for accelerated approval if the data is good enough already from the ongoing clinical study we are running, TACTI-003 in first-line head and neck cancer. So let's assume the data is good enough, and good enough in terms of response rate. That's the primary endpoint. This would allow to file for accelerated approval so that the FDA has a chance to review the drug, and you have more frequent interactions with the FDA under fast track designation, and actually that you get market authorization from the FDA and can move forward. So this could be faster than anticipated. If the results are good, but not excellent, then you would need to do a separate clinical study in a phase 3, for instance. But we have the chance already now.
And Mark, would the commercialization journey be similar to what you look to do with other drugs, licensing, collaboration, and potentially commercializing the drug yourselves?
It's an interesting question indeed. Typically, if the data is good, it's in biotech, the nature of the game that you either get a license or that someone licenses a drug from you in order to roll it out commercially, globally, or that maybe even the whole company will be acquired. So these are typical scenarios. It's maybe less likely, if the data is good, that we commercialize eftilagimod in head and neck cancer ourselves, just to be realistic. We have our major efforts in research and development, especially then in clinical development. If we are successful with that, there are other players who know the commercial game much better than we do.
Thanks for your time, Mark.
Thank you so much.